Morning, everybody, and welcome to this Christmassy webinar. I'm Chloe Tetro. I am the health coach here with ReadyCare. And for this morning, we're going to be looking at the hot topic of tips on managing your diet over Christmas. For some people, this is not really an issue at all. When I'm dealing with clients, I like to ask, how are you feeling coming up to the Christmas period? It's very divisive. Some people will say, grand, great, brilliant. Others have a lot of anxiety around it, particularly if they have just begun implementing specific lifestyle and dietary habits and can feel a little bit wobbly around the Christmas period. So with that in mind, I just thought I'd take this morning to have a look at some of the tips that I can impart. If anybody watching has any other tips they'd like to share with everyone, they can just pop them in the comment section. Very short webinar this morning, but for the first thing I would say is plan ahead. Know what you want to do. And one of the things that I hear an awful lot in feedback from clients is that they can sometimes feel like their sense of control has been removed from the situation. They can feel like, oh, it's this big chaotic mess where there's just food going to be everywhere. What's lacking oftentimes from those types of discussions is the individual sense of power and control over their own situation. So what I would say as the number one tip going into the Christmas period is, firstly, know what you want to do. That, forget what anybody else says to you, forget what the pressures are, forget what, even over the course of the year, what your particular goals might be day in, day out. It's a different environment. It's a different period. It means different things to different people. What does it mean for you? Do you want to take some time off your eating habits? If so, that's totally fine. There's no hard and fast rule for this. For something to be sustainable long-term, you have to feel that you can go into it without feeling that you're being deprived of particular traditions, festivities that are important to you. So the number one thing I would say to you is plan ahead with regards, what do you want to do around the Christmas period? Do you want to take one day off? Would you like to take several days off? Do you want to take a week off? And know when your start date is and when your end date is. What can often happen when people feel they've kind of lost control of things is they will go in without knowing exactly what they want to do, and they'll tend to roll into, Christmas Day, Stephen's Day, that week that nobody knows what day it is, what's happening, what anything is, but we all know there's food around. So oftentimes what can happen is I could chat to people before Christmas and let's say the first or second week of January, and for them that entire block of time has just been out of their control. They've just kind of gone with things. So what I would say is, if you do plan on taking time off, know when your end time is. Do you want to take 3 days off? At the end of the 3 day, do a cut-off period for yourself and go, look, that's me done. I don't want to be continuing further than that. And if you do want to, that's absolutely okay, but no prior to the time. The other part of the planning ahead would be, if you are eating outside of the home, which oftentimes people do around the Christmas period, if you're eating out, understand what's on the menu prior to you being starving at the table as it arrives. If you've chosen not to, come off plan or come off, particular eating habits that you have for that evening, don't arrive hungry. And that's something that I'd say to people, whatever the time of year is, know the menu ahead, if you're in somebody's house, for example, eat beforehand rather than arriving and being starving. So anytime that we're very hungry or we're very tired, our willpower diminishes. So if you have made the decision to want to stick to your plan for X amount of time over that holiday period of, 2 weeks, really going into New Year's almost, know the menu ahead of time. Do not arrive hungry. Make sure you've eaten beforehand. Have some low carb snack options with you, or bring your own dishes. If you're close to the person, just say, look, I'm following a particular eating plan for health reasons. I'm going to bring my own dishes ahead. So that would be the kind of plan ahead aspect of things. Then going into focus on what you can have. And for anybody following a low carb food protocol in the holiday period, there's actually an awful lot that you can have. It's meat and cheese season. It's alcohol season that does not have to be beers or ciders or anything like that. as long as if you've chosen to partake in alcohol festivities, you can have a number of clear alcohols with either water, fizzy water, or diet sodas like Diet Coke. And there's lots of diet options, basically meaning low sugar options out there. Wines, Prosecco's would be one of my favorite ones. All low carb options. So plenty of food there that you can have, meats. Meats is the major one. There's the turkey, the ham, the beef, all of these types of ones that you can have. Having lots of the fats, olives, cheese platters, they're all going to be absolutely fine. And then choosing within the window of what it is you want to have. So if you've chosen to do 100 grams of carbohydrates or less, for example, that's still a low carb option. And just being mindful, of how you're feeling. If you've eaten a little bit too much of sugars, of carbohydrates, of potatoes, biscuits, anything like that, notice what your body feels like. Do you feel a little bit lethargic? Do you feel a little bit rubbish in yourself? And if so, that's usually your point of going, I've gone a little bit over, I'll just pare back a small bit. The flexibility aspect is one that I would really encourage people to do. It's a day or it's 2 days out of your year. Go in with the mindset that it's a day or 2 days out of your year. You're not going to go back to square one just because you've had roast potatoes, mash, and mince pies on one day. Being open to going, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to go in with the thought process of this is part of a tradition that the family has, or it's part of a tradition I have had for X amount of years, decades, whatever it may be, and that you're happy to partake in it if that is what you've chosen to do. Lots of people adopt a kind of 80-20 mindset when it comes to food plans, where they allow themselves to have a degree of flexibility so that they can continue to find success and sustainability without feeling like they're deprived. Allowing yourself one day out of 365 is not going to set you back to square one. It is absolutely, it's a blip. It's a blip on the radar. Your health is a spectrum. Having that blip on the radar won't set you back. If you've gone slightly above your carbohydrate, what can happen sometimes is you can retain a little bit of water. And that might show itself if you're somebody that weighs themselves, on the daily. Don't worry too much about that. Go back to the way that makes you feel good about eating as you progress. But don't worry too much about that 1 day, 2 days out of the year. And enjoy the kind of non-food aspects as well with it. There are lots of moments that make up the holidays. We've got this kind of cultural obsession with the food aspect of things, that you have to have the box of roses, celebration heroes, shortbread biscuits, puddings, Christmas cake, which I feel like most people I talk to absolutely don't like Christmas cake or puddings, but we just have it anyway because it is part of that tradition. Know that there are other aspects to that are not central around food. Create your own traditions with your family around your own health goals. Things that are more about the things that are important to you about the holidays. Is it about taking time off work? Is it about rest? It's about relaxation, presence with the TS and the CE at the end of the word. Is it about being there with your family? Is it about exchanging gifts? And starting to take the mindset of that obsession around the food aspects of things and click it into what is it I enjoy around the holiday, and have it be more about those type of things. Reframing that mindset around things. Now, the other part that I'll say, which I've found, and for those that would work with me, I've been eating this way. I always say 8 years, but I've been saying 8 years for about 2 years, so I'm nearly going on a decade of this. If you've chosen not to veer off plan or to be moderate about it, identify your triggers around it. And a major one for me and most people is a visual cue. And what I mean by that is if you're in the sitting room, so in my own household, it's tradition for us to put all of the foodstuffs under the Christmas tree. So things like Ferrero Rocher, celebrations, biscuits, anything that's seen as treat foods go under the Christmas tree as well. And that's the same for a lot of households. So as I said, our willpower diminishes if we feel stressed, hungry, tired, any of the things that bring down our energy supply. If you have a visual cue of you're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, you're enjoying yourself, you're wrapping presents, doing whatever it is that you're doing. If you constantly have in eyesight packets of crisps, chocolates, pretzels, a lot of these different things, packets of pretzel. It's a very odd thing in my household. We're mad on getting the pretzels around Christmas time. We never eat them any other time. But seeing those constantly is a primer for you going, sure, I might as well have a little bit. So being smart about your own triggers, that's a trigger. Another trigger could be going to somebody's household, or having any treat foods along with a particular activity, like wrapping presents, like the couple of drinks that you might have as a family. Now, I say that saying, if you have chosen not to partake, if you have chosen to partake, just allow your foot off the pedal for that day and go, look, this is what's happening. I'm going to enjoy myself and not beat myself up around. And that's where the mindset aspect is coming in. If you get stressed about it, if you kind of allow yourself to go, oh God, I should be eating this way, that way, and this other way, you're going to give yourself shame spiral, which is not ideal on Christmas Day. Just allow yourself to go, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm enjoying, my beer for that day. I'm enjoying my turkey sandwich with my sourdough bread for the day afterwards. And allowing yourself to see that as like, this is an unusual situation that has lots of festivities and joy around it. I will go right back to how it is I usually eat after that. Just allow that. The other thing that I'd say is communicate your needs. If you're somebody that feels social pressure an awful lot, and I there's a lot of people that would feel this way. It's a very Irish mindset, is I don't want to cause a fuss. If I'm going to XYZ's house, or if we're calling for Stephen's Day, I don't want to be causing a fuss. I don't want to seem rude or ungrateful or whatever it may be. If you're comfortable, park that for a while as well. You're following a particular food plan an awful lot for health reasons, metabolic reasons. You're targeting some of the long-term damage that can happen with excess insulin resistance, excess raised blood sugar levels, their impact on your blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, lots of different things there. So understand why you're doing this. If you're doing this for something very close to your heart and for health reasons, offer yourself the grace to go, look, it might be uncomfortable for a minute, but most people are really, really good about it. If you say, look, I'm actually not going to have that. And you can say it discreetly. You don't have to say it in front of the table full of family that will say, sure, go on. Find the host and say, look, I'm just going to not have that on my plate if that's okay. I don't want to make a fuss about it. Most people will say, jeepers, you're grand altogether. Don't worry about that. Your needs come first with this. If you don't want to partake in something, really communicate that with people, because with the best of intentions, culturally, we have a habit of being like little pushers. Go on, you will. You'll have a biscuit. You'll have, go on, it's Christmas. But if you're uncomfortable with that, and if you've chosen to go, I don't want to take part in that, be understanding that this is for your health. If people with a peanut allergy, if they went around saying, jeepers, I don't want to make a fuss now, I best just eat the peanuts, see what happens. Now, that's an extreme example, but that's kind of falling in with the same type of shift in the mindset around it of, if you've chosen not to do this for health reasons, it's okay to say, I've chosen not to do this for health reasons. You don't have to give the ins and outs. And especially in a family group, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's very, very interested in your health as soon as you say you won't eat something. But, gaining some comfort around being able to express, this is a particular need that I have. It can be done discreetly with the host. And if you're bringing your own dish, just say, I'm just going to pop that on my own plate now in the background in the kitchen. And understand why you are doing this, why you are undertaking these food and lifestyle changes in the first place. If you've chosen not to partake, or if you are finding it difficult to get back on track, we'll do a little session on getting back on track after Christmas. Understand why you're doing this. And it's something that I drill an awful lot in these sessions is like, what is your motivation? Go put on the Simon Sinek hat. What's your why? What's your motivation around doing this? Do you want to do it for health reasons, aesthetic reasons? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to feel more confident? What are the things that are driving this? Is it you don't want to go on medication for pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes? You don't want to be taking medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, etc., etc. Is it a case of, I like to feel healthier? I like to feel like I have my own freedom and autonomy to move about my day without aches, pains, joints. I want to be able to put on whatever outfit I want and feel I look good, feel good in myself. I want to give a good example to my children of what it's like to be healthy, what it's like to take care of yourself. I want to give myself the gift of self-care. What does self-care look like for me? It's making sure that I'm minding myself with the same love and compassion that I would show to a loved one. And the choices that I make move me towards that, not away from that. So understanding what is driving your decisions is going to help you stay on track a lot more. And the closer a reason is to the heart, and to where you really honestly and authentically feel about it, the easier it's going to become to say, no, actually setting a good example for my children on what self-care looks like is more important to me than actually continuing on the 29th, the 30th, the 31st, to continuously to eat things that I'm not comfortable actually doing. I don't particularly even like it. I'm just in the habit of sitting down and doing particular food behaviors associated with it. So that's the kind of I don't know where that sound came from. That's the kind of a few different tips. There's planning ahead, knowing what you want to do, start date and end date, allowing yourself to just be comfortable with that decision that you've made, and not allowing it, that kind of social pressure to dictate when you can't have something. And if you have chosen to take time off in the days leading up to it, it's okay to go, look, I do fancy that, but I'm actually just going to leave it for the 24th or the 25th. I'll have a little bit of that, little bit of this. And on the day, you might actually just find yourself going, yeah, I've had a bit of the Viennetta ice cream, and that's me actually done. I don't want to have all of the different types of desserts. The other thing actually to pop in there, focus on what you can have. There are lots of low carb baked desserts alternative, using almond flour or ground almonds in the stead of flour, and using things like xylitol, stevia instead of sweeteners. You can almost do a 1-for-1 then on the rest of a recipe. There's lots of different recipes out there. If you just look up low carb dessert ideas, lots of really, really easy ones out there. That means that you can sit down and you can go, jeepers, I am going to have a massive bit of chocolate cake. But it's going to be one that I don't feel in any way rubbish afterwards. I'm not going to get bloated. I'm not going to feel tired, sleepy, achy, jointy, any of these types of things. And you can still take part. There's low carb ice creams available out there. There's sugar-free jelly. Is a zero carbohydrate option. If you wanted to have something like sugar-free jelly and a bit of cream at the end of your meal, that means that you can take part in that type of trifle tradition without having, any of the difficulties that go along with it if you are carbohydrate intolerant. So that's me for this morning. Hope you found some of those useful. But in saying that, enjoy the Christmas period. It comes along once a year. Don't beat yourself up. Mash and roast potatoes once a year is absolutely delectable. Have a lovely Christmas, guys, and we'll be chatting to you afterwards on any tips to get back on track if you feel that you've deviated to the point that you're not particularly happy with and you want a little additional support on that. So happiest Christmas from me and all the team at Ready Care. Have a lovely one, and we will be chatting to ye after Christmas. See you guys. Bye now.